Nothing about Madam, not her face, clothing, hair, not even her aroma, I bet. I mean, this ain't smell-o-vision, so we can't smell her. But nothing about her reads the one that you want to try. So why do y'all insist on keep trying, mama? Hey, y'all. What's good? It's your good sis, Erica Vane, coming to you right here on Erica Vane TV with another All the Queens Men video. And in this video, we are talking about season 2, episode number 12. And it's getting mad real. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so you don't miss out on any of my All the Queens Men videos. At any point, feel free to drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about the plot points I'm discussing, the characters I'm discussing, whatever. Just tell me so we can keep the conversation going in the comment section. And without further ado, baby, let's go ahead and talk about it. The episode picks up right where last episode left off with Doc's arrest. And before the little agent makes her exit, she makes sure to point out the fact that Midnight is gonna be next and Babyface is gonna be right behind him. But she has nothing on El Fuego, and she's trying to make a plea for him to like flip and realize that he's surrounded by a bunch of gangsters and criminals, and he's going right down with them once they are caught, when they are caught, because it's going to actually happen. And it's so interesting because looking into El Fuego's eyes in this moment, it's like, oh yeah, you are very much so going to be the weak link, but you also have no idea of all of the things that's going on. And I'm also like, El Fuego, you are incredibly smart. How did you not get wind of not a bit of crime or criminal activity happening around Eden this entire time? Like, you are literally surrounded by nothing but gangsters and criminals, and you're sitting up here looking like a baby who just had that pacifier snatched from them, and you're completely just in disarray and distraught at the idea that the entire world that you have right now is probably about to come crumbling down on you, and it's all because of the people who are surrounding you. Sorry for that, man. Not really. No, but he also goes throughout the episode. He goes to Madam's house the next day because the dudes, of course, don't tell him anything before they leave Doc's house, because as Babyface says, this place could be bugged. But then also they don't need to tell you. Everything needs to be on a need to know basis when you're in criminal enterprise. So of course they're not going to tell you what's actually going on. So he goes to Madam for answers, and the way that he comes in hot, the questions that he's asking, even though she definitely does gaslight him into believing like, yeah, there's actually nothing going on, all of his behavior points to the fact that they're not going to be able to trust him, and she instructs Tommy to keep his eyes on him because El Fuego could definitely wind up being the weakest link and ultimately a problem that brings the entire Eden, Madam, the entire criminal enterprise to its knees. From there, we're taken to the only scenes that we get to see with Amp when he is kidnapped by the trailer park white racist trash that continues to use the N-word with the hard ER. And I'm like, okay, Tyler Perry, I get it. They don't like us. They won't kill him. Okay, cool. I ain't gonna hear too many more of these N-words with this hard ER, my brother. But what stood out to me about this scene most was that Dexter, the leader in this moment, introduces himself to Amp versus like them having some type of familiarity, which basically points out like Amp doesn't know who this person is. So now I'm like, oh, I just read him for filth in my last episode breakdown because he was consorting with their asses, as they mentioned from the beginning. But if they have to introduce themselves, then clearly he might not have been working. So I have no idea where we're going with Amp tied to the white men who are racist that stole half of Madam's money that actually went missing. I still want Amp to be accountable for his griminess. However, he might not actually be a part of this group or be aligned, not a part of it, but he might not actually be aligned with them as it appeared from last episode. And we don't really get anything else from him throughout the rest of this episode, so we really just gonna have to wait and see. Now from there, we get to go and see Face, who shows up at his house, and Miss Pat is there. I think that's that girl name, and she's utterly crazy. I absolutely hate when we see the storylines of the women who use domestic violence to trap men into circumstances that are unfavorable because they feel discarded or disrespected, but that man really didn't do nothing to them. Well, okay, Face did do something to her. He pushed her, but he wasn't like beating on her the way that she was like trying to set him up to do. And part of it, I'm annoyed with him because, sir, you actually just walked into it. You didn't need to put your hands on her, and you saw the type of time that she was on. You felt the vibe as soon as she came in there, but the fact that your ego leads you to so much, you literally walked into a space where she was so easily able to set your ass up. You are governed by your ego, which made you push her, which made you attempt to, before you got a little bit more physical with her, try to seduce her so that you can get her back under your thumb. And she's over here screaming about how all of this stuff is hers. Girl, you done took everything. He got a mattress on the floor and barely a fridge. Like, what exactly are we doing? Now, what I will say is this is something that actually happened. There are women who experience this. There are women who are going through things and having struggles mentally that put them in a place that they're doing this goofy I just hate to see it, but I'm not going to knock the story for speaking to it or showing it, because I would imagine that it happens a lot more than it would normally, especially in the circumstances that we see for the show All the Queen's Men. This sends Face on the run throughout the rest of the episode because she literally calls the police and puts on this dramatic show just like a Karen. I mean, she's not a Karen, but as a Karen would with a black person out in public, she literally is putting up all the theatrics and hollering and screaming into the phone, gave them the address and like, yes, he's beating me, yada, yada, yada. So now Face gotta run. Now Face can't show up where he needs to show up. This show is wild, y'all. Like, wild. Now, just like last episode, the most interesting thing for me from this episode, well, like, tied, because Madam is definitely compelling in this episode, but Lotus, the woman who is the concierge's wife, who we found out about in last episode, we get to see her talking with him at the top of this episode, and she's questioning him like, oh, what you got planned for the day? And we're kind of getting a very sneak peek into what it looks like for it to be their lives on a regular day. So we're really about to see what Madam being an interruption is actually going to look like. But then also we get to see she meets up with the judge, who is how she actually found out about Madam being on a plane and going to the White House and all that kind of stuff, because we all remember the concierge basically is the one who righted or at least smoothed over the relations between Madam and the judge up until this point by way of his little mile high rendezvous with her in that very exclusive style date-ish situation. So Lotus winds up at a lunch with not only the judge but also Miss Tandy at Miss Tandy's house, and they are interrupted by none other than Madam herself, who is looking to get Doc out of jail, who she called the judge and told the judge that Doc needed to come up out of jail. The judge decided that she was going to try to play with Madam instead of playing with something safer, and then Madam now has to come through the gate at Miss Tandy's house because she knows exactly where she's at, and she busts up the party. Also, not only just bursting through the gate, she drowns the judge, has Tommy resuscitate the judge because the judge is still putting up a fight and not just following the damn orders that have been provided for you. And then checks Miss Tandy, takes Miss Tandy little servant boy toy, recruits him to be a part of her little crew, all the while putting this all on display for Lotus, and it's giving that Lotus's interest is 100% piqued. Both Lotus and Madam have a little bit of an interaction together. It's a little bit of tension, but not really. Madam just has smoke for Miss Tandy and the judge, of course. However, this is the beginnings of like Avengers style fighting that we're probably about to see. Like, I still 100% betting on black when it comes to Madam. I'ma stick beside her, I'ma stand behind her, but Lotus gives me very much so capable of being a formidable opponent when it comes to Madam, and it's going to make for great television but be a huge problem for Madam's program. Now, over at the damn jailhouse, before Doc is actually released from jail, because by the end of this episode, he is released from jail, we have to suffer through one of the most cringiest interrogations with this sloppy ass agent, who I don't really believe is an agent, but of course, that's what she is for the purposes of this show. And Doc trying to seduce her or just being overly sexual with her, basically trying to F his way up out of this jail. And it's like, sir, I get it. You sell sex for a living. A lot of women like how you look, like how you grind, even like how you f them. But not every woman is going to fall for that allure. And for me, it's immediately a no. And apparently for this agent, it's also immediately a no. And it's honestly the most cringy and weird interaction having to watch it. I was just so uncomfortable because it was clownery. Like, I don't even know how to get around pointing out exactly how much of a clown Doc is in this scene. And it really just speaks to, I guess, men, or the archetype that he represents from this particular subset of life, and how their claim to fame is their penis, and like how they think their penis is going to get them in and out of whatever situations that they're actually in. Sir, a woman is dead, and you talking about trying to F this agent on this table in front of all of this evidence. Has that ever worked for you? It's laughable, Doc. Like, it's really, really laughable, and you should be ashamed of yourself. But of course you're not, because you barely have any damn shame. Y'all, he winds up getting out, and he's also making these little coy remarks and all of that as he's getting out. And it's interesting because I thought that while it was cringy, while it was clownery, while it was corny of him trying to push up on this FBI agent during interrogation, I did respect that. It seemed like he was standing 10 toes down. He wasn't going to say nothing. He not about to rat. He good. Like, don't even trip on him. Only to find out by the end of the episode, Madam got a headbutt his ass because she realizes something is off about him, and he is bugged. He is wearing a damn wire. So not you out here trying to bribe and sexualize this agent only to really be on her side and to have made a point like, Tyler Perry, don't you give us no flashback of them sleeping together in a closet or somewhere at that damn station, and now we gotta throw Doc whole ass away. We over here worrying about if El Fuego is going to be the weakest link and cause problems. Meanwhile, Doc is already wearing a wire walking out of the precinct ready to set Madam up and take the whole damn ship down. Aside from that, y'all, Blue actually did wind up taking an old girl that I believe is setting her up home. Apparently she's married and being abused, and now she's running to Blue for refuge, and she just really wants to stay. So Blue lets her stay at her house, and clearly Blue is low-key falling for a lot of the things that she's putting down. She do kind of feel a little genuine, y'all, but my head is still on the swivel, and I just don't trust old girl, especially with this whole sob story that she got. But we're gonna go ahead and watch for now. Nobody knows what's going on with Ant because they have not gotten wind of him being taken yet. And again, this episode was a fiery, exciting, dynamic follow-up to a dope mid-season premiere. And we just keeping it moving with the energy and all of the drama. Now it's your turn. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think of the episode? What storyline are you most excited about? What are you most worried about? Whatever you're thinking and feeling, drop it in the comment section down below so that we can keep the conversation going. I'm your good sis, you Let Us Talk TV with. Hit that like button because you made it all the way to the end of the video, so I believe that you liked it. And I will see you in episode 13 breakdown. All the Queen's Men. Let's get into it.